FTX was in a position where they had this market maker, Alameda, that was investing in risky things. And that's fine. Like market makers, hedge funds, they're designed to take more risk. It appears at this point that back during the last shakeup in the crypto industry where, Terra Luna and Voyager and Celsius and Three Arrows went under, it appears that Alameda took a big loss at that time as well. They may have even been underwater. And instead of just saying, hey, this hedge fund's going to blow up too, which would have been unfortunate. People would, Sam would have lost money. It's embarrassing, but it's not illegal for a hedge fund to blow up. Instead of just letting it blow up, Sam basically said, hey, we have a bunch of customer assets over here at FTX, or he somehow basically made a loan from FTX into Alameda to try to prop it up. I don't know why he did that. I mean, that's the moment in my mind where he crossed the line into probably committing fraud. And I think he probably lied to users, lied to investors, and he went around and tried to bail out these different companies like Voyager and BlockFi and to sort of prop up this thing. And maybe he thought he could trade his way out of it or something. I'm not sure, but that seems to be where the mistake was made. If you're a regulated financial service business, but you're not a bank, we're regulated as a trust company, a money transmitter, et cetera. You're required to hold customer assets one for one, denominated in the asset. So in other words, if you say the customer has one Bitcoin, you have to hold one Bitcoin. If they say they have $100, you have to hold $100. But we don't have clarity about the crypto specific regulations, like what's a commodity, what's a security. And that lack of regulatory clarity, I believe, has pushed a lot of this business offshore to these less regulated exchanges. That's part of what caused the blow up today. They were based in the Bahamas, and there's not sophisticated financial regulators overseeing what they were doing.
Now that we know what happened, which is all of these crazy inter-party related transactions and all of this stuff seems very illegal, there was a bankruptcy filing today. And up until today, it seemed like this issue was really about FTX International and Alameda, and it didn't touch FTX US, which for a long time tried to position itself as, well run and regulated as Coinbase. To be, they tried to say that. But now, if you look inside the Wall Street Journal, all the articles say that this is actually FTX Group, so the whole thing seems to be imperiled.
The bankruptcy court will basically go through and try to find any assets of value. So, they still have some tokens and value. They have a venture portfolio. I think Sam owns 9% of Robinhood. There's various things that they may own. And then they'll kind of auction those off to various bidders on distressed assets and then try to distribute those funds to the customers. The challenge lies in that there's kind of a fuzzy line between what is a commodity and what is a security. And a lot of this law is based around the Howey test, which says a security is an investment in a common enterprise with an expectation of profit.
This doesn't make much sense, but I'll have my team do some work. We did some work and we sent him a 2-page deck. And we said, here are our recommendations for taking the next step. One was the formation of a board. The second was the creation of dual class stock. The third was some reps and warranties around affiliated transactions and related party transactions.
I hope that they use this as a moment to come together and help, local companies in the US being built here to end up in a better place. And I do believe, David, I think said it's right. It is a political issue at this point. There's going to be a major impetus to get the clarity here in the US and hopefully to help build the companies here in the US that are going to serve the rest of the world and in every major financial hub. So we're committed to building that together with all the regulators around the world. And crypto's here to stay. This is a temporary setback, but I'm here to keep building and make this thing happen.
My biggest purchase ever was Bitcoin in 2011. I've bought a bunch of these tokens that have massively depreciated in value. I think lots of investors have. I kind of fell into it as well. Like I thought, wow, this is incredible. I get to buy these tokens. They do all of this cool stuff. They represent all this value. And my experience has been the opposite of that. I've lost a lot of money in these things. And so, I really hope that regulators, not just obviously, I hope that regulators do the best they can to get investors' money back in FTX. But I really also hope they figure out all these other tokens as well, because you can just rank them in terms of market cap, start at the top and work your way down. And you will see that these were unregulated securities, Jason, that were manufactured and sold by our brethren. There is still a lot of risk to the downside. We haven't seen David's second, dip in the recession. right? So that double dip is going to be expensive. And again, the sharps think that inflation will come back at some point in the next 6 months. That will keep the Fed's foot on the gas. Maybe it's 2 or 3 more 50 basis point hikes. The point is, Jason, you could be at 5.5. Again, we said this last week. We're going to get to a point that's probably higher than what people expect. That's probably around 5.5. And we'll stay there longer than people want. That's probably through the middle part of 24. The issue that a lot of these companies have, even in the face of rifts, is that you have to reset expectations now on earnings. And if you do that, the problem is that when you flow that through to what people think the S&P will look like in a year, there's some real issues. So this is not free, you know. It's really hard treading. And I would just encourage people, it feels wonderful to have a few days of it's like a respite in the middle of a huge storm, right?
Yeah,
it feels like
sure.
we've been getting whipsawed back and forth, and
the sun
nice.
Came out and the wind went down.
Came out. I would just really encourage people in this moment to reset your energy, which I think is good. But you got to go back into that office and you got to find the money and the wherewithal